So we have seen how to really translate this recursive thinking, we have designed for towers of Hanoi problem into the code. But how good this algorithm is going to perform? Let's understand theoretical complexity, then we can able to see the practical performance as well. So to just give you, how to analyze recursive programs, we need to draw always recursion tree. So a recursion tree is a logical diagram here, which we are able to draw to get clarity on how much time this algorithm will take and space it is going to take it up. To just draw the recursion tree for reference purpose, I'm rewriting the code here. So this is the template of our code here. So we written Hanoi of n src args here and also target. Now, so I'm not writing the details of syntaxes here. The base case, if n equal to 1, we have printed a move call src to target and there is a retention. And otherwise, we call Hanoi of n minus 1. So from source will be source. Now target is going to be args here. Helper is going to be target. First call. Again src to target. There is a move. And again Hanoi of n minus 1. Source is going to be args here. Target is target here. Now src is acting as the auxiliary here. That's what the second call here. So this is the the template I just written up quickly here to get the clarity on how this tree is actually built up. Now let me draw a recursion tree to get the complete detail of time and space complexity here. How do you draw the recursion tree? Let me take n some value. Let me take n equal to 3. So this is what we really get an argument here. So n is 3, source is A, auxiliary is B, target is C. That's how we are invoking up. We pass string or character literal as a constant here. N equal to 1. Even before execution, first you have to have a stack frame. Stack frame 1 is ready. All the local data, return addresses, whatever other overhead information required for a function call, we keep in stack frame. Once stack frame is ready, push down to stack process stack. Now we execute the body. So the body n equal to 1. The value is here definitely n, which is 3, is not satisfied. Then so you make a call. So when you make a call, immediately you got to jump into jump to that method execution here. So you cannot really continue anymore until you finish that. That's why this call is equivalent to some kind of a path. So the path I'll show as the first guy I show as a left child, second call I'm going to show as a right child. Since I'm making a first call, I'm going to show as a left child in a way. Now the call is going to be 2. Now source is A. Now the other two are C and B here. They just interchanged up while invoking that method. So to execute this body, again you need a stack frame here. We call it as SF2. Now, so again, you go back, now execute the body n. Which n here? This frame n. So obviously all these frames, how are they look like here? So here is a stack section. This is our process stack here. First SF1 is here. Then on top of this SF2, inside, this is how the things are happening. Now, when I push SF2, this is what SF2 on top of stack. When I say n value, which n they always refer to here is top of the stack frame n. Here this n is 2. That's why 2 is not equal to 1, condition false, then Hanoi of n minus 1. Mind you, you cannot make a right call. Maybe in the logic development, we never focus on flow. We only focus on sub-problems. It is okay. But when you want to really go for exact flow of execution here, you must go through the way program is executing here. So Hanoi of n minus 1, that means again first call, left child I'm going to show. Now here we are going to have 1 comma, A will be as is. These two get swapped here, which is CB becomes BC. Again to execute the body, we need a stack frame 3. This is pushed down to stack here, which I call SF3 here. Now once you got 1 ABC, now you got stack frame. Now execute the body, n equal to 1. So 1 equal to 1 true. Then immediately we are going to display SRs to target. SRC is A, 2C. That's the first the move unwritten statement. Written means blind written. You have to go back in the tree. You can name this also here, the order here. This is 1 here, this is 2, this is 3 here. Once you go back here, that means this going back is nothing but removing a stack frame from our stack. We are here. We are here means which part where are we in the code? Since we are after this first call, we are here. That means you are going here. Still there is some body to execute for this specific activation of a method. What is remaining here is SRs to target here. So here when you go back, SRs to target is going to be what now here? A to B. The second move here is going to be A to B. So once A to B is displayed up, then Hanai of n minus 1. That means it's the second recursive call. I'm going to show as a right child. This is only our interpretation, which is left, which is right child. It is easy to really assign first call, first child, second call, second child. We can able systematically analyze recursive programs. That's where I'm going to make a right call here. Now with what? N minus 1 is going to be 2 minus 1, 1. This time, args and SRC get interchanged here, C, A, B. But again to execute this body, I need a stack frame. We call this as stack frame number 4. But where do you push? Since the space is really taken out here, SF4 is pushed on to top of these 2 frames here. The same space I'm going to use for SF4. Now we got SF4. Now you can execute this body. Let's execute this body. N equal to 1. So 1 equal to 1 true. That means SRs to target. That means C to B here. So C to B gets displayed. After C to B, then we have written statement. We are going back here. The order wise 1, 2, 3, write as 4 and we write as 5. We are back here. Once we are back, so that means, so we are at this statement, means the stack frame 4 will be removed. That's what you mean by written. Written means the current activation have finished up. So all these details are no longer required here. So that's where we are here. When we are here, which place are going to be here? Since I'm coming from the right side, this is after second recursive call. What is end of the method? End of the method is nothing but an implicit return statement here. That means from here, we are going back to the parent, which is going to be 6th. So going back means now SF2 also is going to be removed. Now we are here. So we are here means now, so from left side you are back. That means after this statement we are going here. SRs to target is available. Here SRs to target, because my stack frame 1 is in the top of stack. So when I refer any variables, they refer to this frame variables only. So here SRs to target is going to be A to C. Let me display A to C here. That is what the next motion. Once A to C is displayed, again I'm going to call Hanai of n minus 1. There is a, now the second recursive call I'm showing as right child here. N minus 1 is going to be 2. Args and SRC, these two get interchanged. BA, C is our target here. Now again to execute this body, we need a stack frame here. So this time, so we have 4. Now I'm calling it as stack frame 5. Stack frame 5 is pushed over here, SF5. Now execute the body. When execute the body, so n value here, this n is nothing but 2, current frame, which is the top of stack, 2 equal to 1, condition false. Then you are going to make again Hanai call. But this time, this Hanai call is a first recursive call here. Because it's a first recursive call, we always show as a left child. This is a tricky part. So when you come to the right, again how left child is happening? Because in this sub-problem, again there are 2 recursive calls are there. So each call you have to show in the same conventions now. That's why we are here, order wise, this is 7. Now the 8th one is going to be left call here. That's where we are going to have 8th one here. So what is the call? You can see, so 1 here, comma, n minus 1, source target, source will be as is anyway here. These two gets interchanged here, C comma A. So once we got this, again to execute this, we need a stack frame. We call it as SF6. That's, I'm going to push up here, SF6 now. Now execute this body. What is the body here? N equal to 1. So n equal to 1, true. When n equal to 1 is true here, then base case SRs to target, B to A. That's where the next one we are getting here is B to A. That's next move. Of displaying B to A, return statement here, we are coming back, which is 9 here. That means SF6 is removed from what they call top of the stack. Now we are here. Once we are here, so we are here means we are going from left side here. We are here at this moment, at this step, sorry. SRs to target again. So B to C, here SRs is B, target is C here, and top of stack SF5 is available. Any variable I am referring to, this will be from SF5 only. SRs to target is B to C, from B to A, then again we see B to what they call C. After that move is finished up, then again Hanai call is available. Let's make one more call here. So this call here is going to be n minus 1, which is 1. So target is C only. These two get interchanged here, A comma B. Again, to execute this, we need a stack frame. Let me create a stack frame called SF7. So I'm going to push SF7 here. After pushing it up, you can execute this body. You have all the memory required. So n equal to 1, this n 1 is equal to 1 here. Then SRs to target, which is A to C, I'm going to display here. So then here from SRs to target here, which is A to C. So B to A, B to C here. So let me take 3 towers here. This is A, B, C. So at this point, we got 2 are transferred. Now these 2 are moving. B to A is done. Then B to C, then A to C. That's what the last move. It's exactly correct. So we got A to C here. Now 1 ABC. Once it's done, then what are we doing here? We got return statement here. So return statement means here, you're going back. The order wise, 9 is here, 10, 11 is here. Going back means now here, this frame SF7 is removed. Now we are here, means we got, finished the second part. Second part means end of the method, implicit return statement. 12, we are going here, back to the parent. So that SF5 also removed here. Now we are going back to the parent. From other method we got to this place. Now once we are here, now 12, again here which place we are going up. Right side part is finished up, end of this so-called the method. We got implicit return, we are going back here. I mean, this frame is also removed. Ideally speaking, there is one more frame which is for main method. So exactly speaking here, let me rewrite this process stack here. There is one more frame which is called stack frame for main method. Now your call actually goes to what they call main method. In main, once you got finished up, this frame is also removed. That's how exactly here our recursive program executes at runtime. In any language here, this is the way recursive programs gets executed. So why are we really doing this? This gives a hint of how to analyze time complexity, how do you analyze space complexity of that such programs here. This tree in general we call it as recursion tree. This is a logical tree. There is no physical tree at all in our problem here, but to get a systematic understanding here, we draw such trees. Now from this, how can you get time and space complexities here? Let me write here time complexity and space complexity. Space complexity of any recursive program is nothing but the depth of the recursion. There is no extra memory used here explicitly except few variables, but the internal memory, which is process stack, I have used is nothing but the depth of the stack. We cannot count space of all the stack frames. If you look at here, so only 3 depth we are using up throughout our execution here. That means our recursion depth, whatever is available, it only tells us how much stack space required. For 3, when n equal to 3, we got 3 stack frames. For any general n value here, we need n stack frames, which is nothing but theta of n space. That is pretty straightforward. But time-wise, each node we are spending some time here. The time here is, we can count it as the moves anyway here. If you count one move as the low level operation here, how many moves are required? At each node, you need to count up the number of moves you have made it up. If you want to really count all of them, at root level, one move is made here. This node, again, one more move. Every node we are making one move anyway here. How many nodes are there? Root level 1, they give 2 nodes at the next level. And each of them will contribute 2 more nodes anyway here, 2 square. In general, if you have n disks are available, this is 2 power 0. this is 2 power 1 here, this is 2 square. For n is equal to 3, we are going to 2 square. For arbitrary n away here, we got to add till 2 power n minus 1. This is many most ideally we require here. That is the lowest level operation I'm really counting out. Now, what is the summation of this? If you refer our math videos here, this is a geometric summation here. This is nothing but 1, 2 power, number of terms n minus 1 by 2 minus 1. Now, which is nothing but here 2 power n minus 1 in terms of theta here, theta of 2 power n. That's where the analysis here of this Hanai program, if you really summarize here, time is going to be 2 power n here, space is going to be theta of n here. And all this is possible only because of recursion tree. That's why from now onwards, any recursive program you are going to take it up, you got to first draw a logical recursion tree here, from where the depth of the tree will give up some kind of understanding of stack space requirement. Each node, what are you doing it up, is going to give up clarity on the time complexity here. Here time complexity is moves here. The total number of moves is going to be theta of 2 power n here. So what do you mean by this 2 power n here? So in practice now here, let's analyze what they call, let's see it up in practice, the meaning of 2 power n and also n here. Let's move on to the code to look at or to understand practical performance of this algorithm here. So we have seen in theory here, recursive algorithm to solve Hanai problem, how much it is going to take. It's taking n 2 power n complexity, space of n. But what do you mean by this 2 power n practice here? So let me import to clock this here, package called time package. Now, so I don't want to disturb this code of Hanai call. I'm going to really have it up. So time dot time here, we call this as start equal to end of this. Again, end is equivalent to time dot time anyway. In middle, I'm going to invoke Hanai of given n value. So that's what start we are getting out, end we are getting out. Is assigned but never used. Okay, anyway, I'm going to display the difference now. Print. So time taken here, colon here. Now the gap is going to be end minus start is what we want to show you here. Now comma here, seconds. So that's what we want to see. Now let's test this out. So it's taking 0.002 seconds for n equal to 4. But let me test it for bigger values here. Configuration per file, instead of 4, I'm going to give up, let's say 10. So run it out. Now you can see 0.39 seconds now here. Let me try for little bigger value, instead of 10 here, 15 I'm going to give, run it out. So you can see the clear-cut lapse, before you get the response anyway. So what if I give up n equal 100 anyway? So it's almost 11 seconds. Let me try for 100. So let's see what will happen. Now almost 200 moves are required here. So the program keep on really displaying up the required moves here, one after the other here. I'm sure this is taking a huge amount of time here. So that's why in practice 2 power n algorithms here are not useful. You always, whenever you get 2 power n algorithm here, you need to find another alternative algorithms. If not, the practicality of such algorithms is only very, very limited here. That's what you can say about 2 power n. But when this program is going to terminate here, we cannot judge, we cannot wait, since we do not know when this is going to come out here. Let's understand the fun side of 2 power n here, how much time this is going to take it up. That gives you a clear-cut picture why 2 power n algorithms are very bad. Let's understand the approximate meaning of 2 power n here. So you have seen now 2 power n is doing very poor, even for little bigger value like n equal to 40 here. You have seen in practice here, it's keep on running it up. But it's a little curious to know how much time these 2 power n algorithms will take it up. Let's make some rough analysis in theory here about 2 power n. So let me take up 2 power n understanding here. So 2 power n operations, let's say n equal, assume here, we got up as 100. For n equal 100, how much time this really take it up? We call it as operations. Assume one operation, take it up, let's say 1 nanosecond. So 1 nanosecond, one operation equal to, right here, 1 op is nothing but 1 nanosecond. Nano is 10 power minus 9, 2 power. So 10 cube is 2 power 10. So this is 2 power minus 30. So I'm going to keep it up approximately 2 power minus 30. Assume seconds. So 2 power 100 operations, nothing but 2 power 100 multiplied by 2 power minus 30 seconds. So it is giving up 2 power, totally 100 minus 30 here, 70 seconds. What is 2 power 70 seconds? Let's convert it into minutes now here. 1 minute equals 60 seconds. 60 now here, I can write it as 2 power 5, 6. I'm going to give an approximation here. Again, 2 power 70 here divided by 2 power 6, we get it as minutes. Again, to really make this as what they call hours and a here. Now again, 60 minutes is 1 hour here. I really divide by 2 power 6 more here to really give this as hours here. And hours I want to convert into days and a here. 24 hours, 2 power 5 I'm going to give it up, which is 32. Divide by 2 power 5, I'm going to give as days. Days I'm converting to years and a here. 365 days per year, 366 per leap year. So 2 power 7, 128, 2 power 8, 512. I'm giving 2 power 8. I'm giving very, so much higher values here. Even then, let's see how much time it will take. 2 power 7, 128. 2 power 8 is 256 here. 2 power 9 is 512. I give 2 power 9 in aviation. That means 2 power 70 divided by 2 power 6, 2 power 6, 2 power 5, 2 power 9. I'm giving, which is 512, which is nothing but what now here? Years. How much is this value here? If you look at it up, so I'm just going to write here. So it's going to be 2 power 70 divided by 9 plus 5, 14, 14 plus 6, 20, 20 plus 6, 26, 2 power 26 years. Now, let's take our lifetime. So the average lifetime of, our humans now, if you take it up, take the highest lifetime, 150 years. It's not going to work, but take 150 years. I'm going to divide this by 150. 150 is 2 power 7, 128. 2 power 8 is 256. I'm going to give 256. 2 power 70 divided by 2 power 26 multiplied by 2 power 8. So this is nothing but lifetime here, which is nothing but, so 2 power 70 minus 26 plus 8, 34. 2 power 70 minus 34 lifetimes here. So which is nothing but 2 power 6 here, again 36 lifetimes here. That means what? Today you start this program, give the value equal 100 and away here. You keep on seeing the execution here, it's keep on running it up. Our next generation comes up, they also keep on seeing your program execution. Their next generation comes up, it's keep on happening it up until 2 power 36 lifetimes here. What kind of use here? This kind of programs we are going to have it up, which cannot scale for value of 100 here. That's why these exponential algorithms are what they call, are not going to be useful in practice here. You got to something with this, with this exponential algorithms here. But some problems, when you do not have an alternative solution than 2 power n, there's nothing we can do. But if there is a possibility to improve it up, we should always try, we should go for improvement of exponential algorithms here. So 2 power n is a very painful algorithm here. So that's what you can see in theory, in a rough approximation, these many lifetimes an algorithm will take for n equal 100. Imagine n equal 1000, n equal 1 lakh. There's no way this program or this kind of logics are useful on a machine and a vision. So that's what we can say about this towers of Hanoi problem. This is a purely theoretical interest problem to really understand now the pain involved to really do this kind of disk movements here. And also is a very good example to understand recursive thinking. Why should we think a subproblem? How is a subproblem reduction happening automatically in the logic development? So that's the reason why we have taken as a second example to illustrate our recursion pattern issue. That's what we want to really understand as part of this video issue.